Okay, good morning, everyone.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to dedicate the Shir Lili Nishmas, Mim Liba Basar Baran. And the Neshama should have an aliyah, like everybody remembers. Remember that this Shir was started for her Refuah Shalema, and it continues now in her memory. We'll also learn, dedicated by Seth Kurtz, Lili Nishmas, and Kurtz, Chana Bas Yitzchak, and the Neshama should have an Alichtige Gan Eden. This week's Perek is the fourth Perek, this coming week's Perek. And the very first Mishnah is based on most of the important things that we look to acquire in life. And the Mishnah basically is a Mishnah that explodes myths. It's a Mishnah that teaches us that what we might think things mean, they don't mean at all. And one of the ways that I learn anything, and it's a good eitzah how to learn, is when a question is asked, before we look at the answer, we should ask ourselves, what would have I answered? This really works good with this Mishnah. And then, when we see that the answer is different, we could then tweak, we could then change our entire outlook about what we're talking about. So the Mishnah is by the famous Ben Zayma. The fact that we call him Ben Zayma is because he was passed away young. What a person could accomplish even in a short life. He passed away young, and he didn't get smicha. Ben Zayma Aimer Ezel Chacham. Who is a wise person? So right away, you ask yourself, what would have I answered about a Chacham? So I would have said a Chacham is somebody that learned in yeshiva and studied properly and amassed. He learned Mishnah Brura, and he learned Gemara, and he learned Tanakh, and he amassed the proper knowledge. That's a Chacham. That's the way I would have defined a Chacham. And right away the Mishnah surprises us. That's not a Chacham. Ezel Chacham haloi made me kol adam. A person that has the ability to learn from all people. Now, this is not as easy as it seems. Many people cannot learn from people who have even incidental disqualifications. Like, for example, there are many people, if somebody comes in and looks like a slob, they can't learn from that person. Ugh. They right away disqualify that person. Truth of the matter is that the person that looks like a slob could be very good to his children. And you could learn that from that person. I know certain angry people that are very unpleasant. They get angry, they're unpleasant, but they daven beautifully. They answer Amen beautifully. The passion that they don't have in control in their anger comes out in their davening in a beautiful way. So you could learn from that person, even though the person is not a Muslim, there's still things that you could learn from the person. But it takes an ability to be able to see the good in each person, which we know, of course, is to be able to see the good in each person. As a Rav, I can tell you that there are people that have blatant flaws, but you could learn very good things from. Now, there is a diak that they make in this Mishnah. We know that there are people that are Rishon. What are you going to learn from a Rasha? So they want to make a diak that's why it doesn't say Ezel Chacham Allah made me kol. It could have just said Allah made me kol. It says Allah made me kol adam. A person has to be a mensch. Otherwise, it should have said just Allah made me kol. But there's another answer they give to this question, which is a very good answer. And that is, you could learn from people that misbehave what not to do. And sometimes you might do something, but you don't see that it's bad. And the reason why you don't see that it's bad is because Ein Adam Roya Nigei Atzma. You don't see your own faults. But when you see it on another person, it looks so ugly that you realize, whoa, I do that also. I'll give you an example. If you ever see somebody talking with a raised voice at their wife or at their husband, and you cringe, ugh, that's the way to talk to a wife? And then you say, 1 second, I think I might do that sometimes. Ouch. You see somebody else do something unpleasant, wow. Now, this is magnified when we see something that our children do that we do not like, and then we say, whoa, I think I do that. Because that's genetics. So, Ezel Chacham Alei Mikol Adam is also when we learn what not to do. I want to just point out that in Pirkay, in the Haggadah, when we talk about the Ben Chacham, again, we don't give that characteristic answer. The Ben Chacham is the one that knows the Haggadah with all the Mefarshim. Who's the Ben Chacham? The Ben Chacham is the one that says Mo'edas HaChukim HaMishpatim. It doesn't sound like a Chacham. Don't you know the Eidos Chukim HaMishpatim if you're a Chacham? But again, it's that capacity to be able to learn from everybody. So I saw that they bring down, I know for myself, for example, we lived next to the Jacobowitz family. They had a sukkah in back of our sukkah. They don't live there now for more than 20 years. But in their sukkah, when their children were young, they benched out loud with their family. And I found it to be, it's already more than a quarter of a century ago. I found it to be so beautiful, I adopted in my family to bench out loud with the family. Right? And that, my family adopted that with their families. And the custom got into power benching. The sefer I wrote about benching. And that's because I was open to learn from something I heard from somebody else's sukkah. That's the idea of picking up. There's a tremendous chachma in picking up things from different people. You watch how, and in a bungalow colony, by the way, this is a very, very available because, you know, we're in close quarters with so many people, and we could learn. I want you to know that when Ramosha instituted, instituted going up to the country many years ago, Camp Yeshiva Staten Island, now it's in Kerhankson. So Ramosha said that one of the benefits is he wanted the Bachrim to see the Rebbeim with their families and see how they were misnag with their families. And that would be an entirely different level of learning for the Bachrim. And that's, again, an idea of Ezel Chacham Aloi Meid Mikol Adam. There's a lot to talk about, but I want to go on the next thing. Ezel Gibar HaKovesh Es Yitzray. Of course, In Yiddishkeit, might is not bulging biceps. Might is not being a Mike Tyson. Right? Might is the ability to say no to temptation. And that's why the name of Hashem, Kel, is Al and Loy. Right? The name Kel means no, whichever way you turn it. El is almighty, might. Might is the ability to say no. That's a tremendous might. It's a tremendous might to be able to say no. And that gevura is not when you do things that other people don't do. I'm a giber, I don't talk in shul. That's not what we're talking about. Because it's very possible that you don't have an assignment to talk in shul. You think talking in shul is absolutely ridiculous. I come here to daven. Why would I think for a second to talk in shul? It says, HaKoivesh es Yitzroi, his Yetzer. A person has to know what is their challenge. Everybody has a different challenge. My mind wanders during davening. My challenge is to stop my mind from wandering during davening. Or I like to schmooze when I come up in the country, and I have to be careful that I don't schmooze about other people. Or I have to be careful that I don't reveal other people's secrets. Or I have to be careful that when I'm walking in the streets, my eyes don't look at what they're not supposed to look at. So you have to first identify what your Yetzer is, and that's the Gevura. And when we make the bracha of Oizer Yisrael b'Gevura, we're thanking Hashem that Yitzroi Shalodam is Gaber La B'chol Yom, V'ine Imein HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oizroi Eino Yachaloi. So we're thanking Hashem for the help to combat that problem, to combat the Yetzer. Ezel Asher. This is a big one. Who is rich? Rich is not defined by money. I know people that have beautiful homes in Borough Park, $4 million homes. People don't know, but in their house, the husband and wife have separate bedrooms. For years, they haven't gotten along. And in these beautiful houses are separate bedrooms, and they live separate lives. Very unhappy people. Wealth is not defined by how much money you have in the bank, how many assets you have. Wealth is an attitude. Wealth is satisfaction. Well, we ask Hashem, Sabeinu mituvecha, satisfy me from your goodness. Tzedakah, by the way, helps a lot for this. Because when you give tzedakah, Hashem says, if I won't open up for you the treasure houses of heaven, until your lips weary from saying enough. Have enough. To be zat. That's why it's brought down in all of the Svarim. Bisimcha is the same letters as machshava. Because simcha is in the mind. It's an attitude. Like the great Reb Noach Weinberger said, if you're not going to be happy with what you have, if you're not happy with what you have, you won't be happy with what you're going to get. Because you'll get used to that too. It's a very big chachma. If you're not happy with what you have, you won't be happy with what you're going to get, because you'll get used to that too. It's an attitude. To be sameach b'chelkai, to be happy with what a person has, is an attitude. And finally, Ezel mechubed ha-mechabed kol adam. Who is honored? Those that honor other people. Again, if you use my method and say, how would I define who is honored? You would have never given that definition. Never. Who is honored? He who honors other people. Who is honored? The person that behaves right. Right? Tiferes la'adam v'tiferes la'iseh. Right? A person that lives uprightly. That's an honored person. He excels in bein adam l'makam and bein adam l'chaveroi. That's a person you want to give honor to. Says the Mishnah, nope. People are too cynical for that. Yeah, that's the way he looks outside. I bet you he's different at home. The only time we're not cynical is when we give other people honor. You give other people honor, this guy knows what he's talking about. You treat people with respect, you treat people nicely, then people say, here's a guy, was ken. Here's a guy that knows. He knows. The way to get honor is to give it. You give people honor, then people reflect that, and they give it back. I want to first of all thank everybody for learning in the morning here. It's a beautiful thing. It's such a aliyah that the colony had, and I'm sorry that I'm not here regularly. I'm still working on strategies to maybe be close to here, or still be part of the colony in some way. And I want to wish everybody, I have my Torah here, which represents me. Everybody got there at Tzvi Lane, lucky people. And I want to wish everybody a very, very wonderful summer.